A powerful man looked at a 1-2-year-old girl cleaning his trash and made the mistake that would cost him everything. "Remove this black trash from my office." Omar al-Rashid towered over 1-2-year-old Amara Williams as she quietly emptied his wastebasket. Her small hands gripped the plastic liner, trying to stay invisible. He kicked the trash bin, sending papers flying across the marble floor. "Filthy little pest," he muttered in Arabic to his assistant. "The cleaner's worthless daughter." His assistant laughed. "She's as stupid as her monkey mother." Omar grabbed Amara's wrist, his expensive rings digging into her skin. "You understand nothing, do you, little animal?" Amara looked up briefly, her dark eyes meeting his. She said nothing, just continued picking up the scattered papers. He shoved her aside. "These American fools. We'll steal their 500 million while this garbage cleans up after us." Omar straightened his $10,000 suit, stepping on the papers Amara just collected. But here's what he didn't know. This worthless child understood every single word he was saying, every insult, every detail of his criminal plan. And in exactly 72 hours, she would use that knowledge to bring his entire empire crashing down. The fluorescent light flickered overhead as Amara helped her mother, Keisha, organize cleaning supplies. The smell of disinfectant mingled with the sound of mops clinking against metal buckets. "Mama," Amara whispered, glancing toward the door. "That man today, Mr. Omar, he said bad things." Kesha didn't look up from counting inventory sheets. "Baby, you know better than to listen to grown folks' business. Just keep your head down." "And he said he's going to steal Mr. Harrison's money." Amara's voice trembled. $500 million. Kesha froze, her pen hovering over the checklist. "What are you talking about, Amara? You don't even speak Arabic." "Yes, I do, Mama." Amara's words tumbled out in a rush. "He called me trash, called you a monkey, said Americans are stupid and he's going to trick them with fake contracts." The pen slipped from Kesha's fingers, clattering to the concrete floor. "Baby girl, that's impossible. You've never learned. I taught myself." Amara pulled out her worn phone, scrolling to language learning apps, YouTube videos, online refugee help calls. "Mrs. Fatima from 3B teaches me Somali, and I learned Arabic from her friends." Kesha stared at her daughter, as if seeing her for the first time. You really understood what that man was saying?" "Every word." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "He's going to hurt people, Mama. The housing project he's talking about. That's where Jamal's family was supposed to move, where the Gonzalez kids could finally have their own rooms." Kesha sank onto an overturned bucket, her hands shaking. Speaking up could cost her job, their health insurance, everything they'd worked for. But looking at her daughter's determined face, she saw something she'd never noticed before. An intelligence that burned like fire. A moral compass that pointed true north. "What exactly did he say, baby?" Amara took a deep breath. "He said Monday would be too late to stop them." "Mama, we have to tell someone. We have to tell Mr. Harrison." "Mr. Harrison?" Kesha's voice cracked. "Baby, he's not going to listen to us. We're just what, Mama? Just cleaning ladies? Just nobodies?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. The security guard's hand hovered over his radio as Kesha approached the executive floor, Amara trailing behind in her school backpack and sneakers. "Ma'am, Mr. Harrison didn't authorize any." "It's okay, Marcus." David Harrison's voice echoed from his office doorway. He looked curious, not annoyed. "Mrs. Williams, is everything all right? It's quite late." Kesha's hands twisted the cleaning cloth she was still holding. "Mr. Harrison, sir, I'm sorry to bother you, but my daughter. She says she heard something important. About your deal tomorrow." David's eyebrows raised as he studied Amara, who stood half-hidden behind her mother. "Your daughter. Come in, both of you." The office smelled like expensive leather and coffee. Amara perched on the edge of an oversized chair, her feet barely touching the ground. "Now then," David settled behind his desk. "What's this about?" "The man with the fancy watch," Amara began quietly. "Mr. Omar," he spoke in Arabic. He said things. "Arabic?" David leaned forward. "Honey, I don't think you understand. He said you're a fool, that Americans are stupid and easy to trick." Amara's voice grew stronger. "He's planning to steal your money through fake contract words." David exchanged glances with Kesha, then spoke gently. "Sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups use big words that sound scary, but—" Amara straightened up. He said, "We'll take everything from this stupid company." Amara recited in perfect Arabic, then translated. Then his assistant laughed and said, "They have no experience with Arabic language." David set down his cup with shaking hands. Where? How do you know Arabic? YouTube, mostly. And Mrs. Fatima upstairs teaches me. I help translate for refugee kids at the community center. Amara pulled out her phone. Want me to show you? She opened a news app and played an Al Jazeera clip. As the rapid Arabic flowed from the speaker, Amara translated simultaneously. The reporter is saying the Egyptian parliament voted on new trade agreements. The opposition leader claims the president is hiding corruption in infrastructure deals. David's jaw dropped. The translation was flawless, capturing not just words but context and political nuance. Amara, his voice was barely a whisper. What exactly did Mr. Omar say about our deal? He used special Arabic lawyer words mixed with regular talking to confuse any translator you might hire. He said the real contract gives him control after 6 months, not you. And there are hidden words that make you pay penalties if you try to stop him. She slid off the chair and approached his desk. Mr. Harrison, can I see the contract? With trembling hands, David pulled out the Arabic sections. Amara scanned them quickly, her young finger tracing the text. Right here, she pointed to a seemingly innocent paragraph. This says, temporary partnership arrangement. But in the Arabic legal structure, temporary actually means until transfer of primary authority. And this word here, she tapped another line, in Emirati dialect, it means complete ownership, not shared management, like your translator probably said. David stared at the contract, then at this 2-year-old who had just exposed a multi-million-dollar fraud. There's more, Mr. Harrison. Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. He said something about other American companies they've done this to before, and he laughed about how easy it is because Americans never learn Arabic well enough to catch them. The office fell silent, except for the hum of air conditioning. David looked at Kesha, who appeared as stunned as he was. Mrs. Williams, David finally said, your daughter may have just saved our company from the biggest fraud in our history. Amara climbed back into the chair. Mr. Harrison, the signing is tomorrow, right? He said he moved it up because he wants to finish the Americans before they get suspicious. David reached for his phone with shaking hands. I need to call my legal team. Now. Wait. Amara held up a small hand. He also said something about having a backup American lawyer already paid to help them if anything goes wrong. Someone in your company. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. 7-year-old Amara pressed her face against their apartment window, watching the Somali family across the courtyard struggle with English paperwork. Mrs. Fatima held official documents, tears streaming down her face as she tried to communicate with a city housing official. Mama, why is she crying? Amara had asked. Kesha pulled her daughter close. Sometimes, baby girl, when people can't speak the same language, they can't get help, even when they really need it. That night, Amara downloaded her first language app. Present day, David's office. I started with Spanish, Amara explained quietly, her small hands folded in her lap. For the kids at school whose parents couldn't come to teacher meetings. Then Arabic, when the refugee families started moving into our building. David leaned forward, captivated. How many languages do you speak, Amara? 8 fluently, working on 3 more. She shrugged like it was nothing special. Mrs. Gonzalez taught me Portuguese. Mr. Kim helps with Korean. I teach myself the others online. Kesha's voice broke with pride and pain. She stays up until midnight sometimes, listening to foreign news, helping neighbors fill out forms. I thought she was just playing games on that phone. Why languages, honey? David asked gently. Amara looked up with eyes too wise for her age. Because when people can't understand each other, bad things happen. Kids get scared. Families get separated. People like Mr. Omar think they can trick everyone. She pulled a worn notebook from her backpack, pages filled with Arabic script, Spanish vocabulary, and Korean characters, all in her careful 1-2-year-old handwriting. Mama always says our minds are gifts from God, but she also says gifts are meant to be shared, not hidden. Amara traced an Arabic phrase in her notebook. This says, knowledge is light. I learned it from helping Mr. Ahmed with his citizenship test. David studied the notebook, amazed by the depth of study. Amara, this is college-level work. I know. Her voice was matter-of-fact. But college costs money we don't have, so I learn for free, and I help who I can. Kesha wiped her eyes. My baby teaches Sunday school in 3 languages, translates for parents at the clinic. I didn't know she was this smart. You always knew, Mama, Amara whispered. You just didn't know other people would listen. Monday morning. Conference room. I need you to be my secret weapon, David whispered to Amara as they stood outside the glass conference room. Can you handle that? Amara nodded, clutching her backpack. Inside, she could see Omar pacing while speaking rapidly into his phone in Arabic, of course. Remember, you're just here with your mom while she works. Act like a normal kid. Can you do that? Yes, sir. But her hands trembled as she pulled out coloring books and crayons from her bag. David opened the door. Gentlemen, my apologies. Our cleaning staff needs to finish up here. They'll be very quiet. Omar barely glanced at Kesha and Amara as they entered. To him, they were furniture. Amara spread her coloring supplies on the floor near the wall, close enough to hear everything but far enough to appear uninvolved. She started coloring a butterfly, pink and purple wings taking shape. As Omar continued his phone conversation, "Yes, everything is going according to plan," he said into his phone. Amara's crayon paused for just a moment, then continued moving across the paper. The Americans know nothing about Islamic trade laws. We'll use this loophole to control the project completely. A butterfly wing got colored a little too hard, the crayon pressing deep into the paper. Omar's assistant entered, closing the door behind him. Are you speaking English in a way that raises suspicions? No, they're all clueless, but there's a small problem. The lawyer we paid off in the company said someone wants to review the project details. Amara reached for her red crayon, accidentally knocking over her box. Crayons scattered across the marble floor. Sorry, she whispered, scrambling to collect them. Both Omar and his assistant ignored her completely. Who is it? The assistant asked. I don't know, but we'll make him agree or we'll destroy him. Omar's laugh was cold. Amara's small hands froze around a blue crayon. And what about the housing project? That's the beautiful part. We'll take the land and build resorts for the rich. The poor people in this area will find themselves homeless. The blue crayon snapped in Amara's grip. Omar checked his expensive watch. Everything will be finished. As the two men left, Amara slowly packed up her crayons. Her butterfly drawing lay forgotten. One wing beautiful, one wing torn, where her crayon pressed too hard when she heard about families losing their homes. David approached quietly. Well? Amara looked up, with tears in her eyes. Mr. Harrison, it's worse than we thought, and we don't have much time. Harrison and Associates' main conference room, 30 minutes later. David stood before his senior partners, Amara sitting small and quiet in an oversized chair beside him. The mahogany table stretched between them like a courtroom divide. Let me understand this correctly. Senior partner Margaret Foster adjusted her designer glasses. You want to delay a $500 million deal because of something a child claims to have overheard? Margaret, if you just listen to what she... David, partner Robert Carter, interrupted, his voice dripping condescension. Are we really taking legal advice from the cleaning lady's daughter? This is absurd. She's 12 years old. Foster's voice rose. Children mishear things. They make up stories for attention. This is exactly what happens when you let the help bring their kids to work. Amara's small hands clenched in her lap, but she stayed silent. Gentlemen, ladies, David tried again. She speaks fluent Arabic. She understood. Oh, please, partner James Sullivan leaned back in his leather chair. These kids watch too much TV, probably picked up a few words from some movie, and thinks she's a translator. Maybe she misunderstood what she heard, Carter added dismissively. You know how these people can be. They see conspiracies everywhere. The room fell silent. The racist implication hung in the air like poison gas. Keisha shifted uncomfortably by the door, wanting to grab her daughter and run. Furthermore, Foster continued, even if this child did hear something, we have professional translators. We have contracts reviewed by the best legal minds in the city. Are you suggesting we trust a 1-2-year-old over Harvard Law graduates? I'm suggesting, David's voice hardened, that we listen to someone who might have information we need. Sullivan snorted. Information? David, she's a kid from the projects. She should be in school, not in boardrooms making up fairy tales about international conspiracies. What's next? Carter laughed. Are we going to consult the janitor about merger strategies? Ask the security guard to review our tax codes? That's enough. David slammed his hand on the table, but Foster wasn't finished. David, I understand you want to be progressive, but this is a business, not a charity. We can't make decisions based on the fantasies of some cleaning woman's brat. Watch your mouth, Margaret. Or what? You'll have me fired for speaking the truth. This little girl needs to be back where she belongs, at home, playing with dolls, not pretending to understand adult business. Amara finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. May I ask Mr. Carter something? The partners exchanged glances. Foster rolled her eyes. Go ahead, honey, David encouraged. Amara looked directly at Carter. You said magna cum laude from Harvard Law in your introduction, but you pronounced magna wrong. It's magna, not magna. Latin stress patterns fall on the penultimate syllable when it contains a long vowel. The room went dead silent. Also, Mr. Sullivan, when you said we should trust the best legal minds, you used a dangling modifier. It should be the best legal minds should be trusted by us, if that's what you meant. Sullivan's face reddened. And Mrs. Foster, you said these people twice, I counted. My mama taught me that when someone says these people, they usually mean people I don't respect. Foster's mouth opened and closed like a fish. David smiled grimly. Now, shall we test her Arabic, or are you convinced that intelligence doesn't come with age requirements? The senior partners shifted uncomfortably in their expensive suits, suddenly very interested in their legal pads. Conference room. 45 minutes before signing, David turned to his humbled partners. Gentlemen, ladies, meet our new linguistic consultant. Amara, are you ready to help us save this deal? The senior partners sat in stunned silence as David outlined the plan. Omar's team will be here in 30 minutes for final negotiations. Amara will sit quietly in the corner with her tablet, appearing to play educational games. In reality, she'll monitor all Arabic communications and feed us intelligence. Foster started to object, but David cut her off. Margaret, unless you suddenly learned Arabic overnight, I suggest you listen. Amara opened her tablet and showed them a simple drawing app. I'll use this to send you signals. Red dot means they're lying. Blue dot means important information. Green dot means they're telling the truth about something. That's actually quite sophisticated, Carter admitted reluctantly. The conference room doors opened. Omar strode in with his legal team, speaking rapid Arabic to his assistant. The signing. The money will be completely in our hands. Amara's finger moved across her tablet screen. To anyone watching, she was coloring a house, but she tapped a red dot that appeared on David's phone. Gentlemen, welcome, David greeted Omar's team warmly. Ready to finalize this partnership? Of course, Omar smiled. Though I must say, some of these contract terms seem quite favorable to your company. Perhaps too favorable. He was testing them, seeing if they'd negotiate against their own interests. Amara quickly drew a blue dot. David glanced at his phone. Actually, Omar, I think the terms are fair as written. 50/50 partnership, shared decision-making, equal profit distribution. Standard international joint venture structure. Omar's assistant whispered in Arabic, It seems they don't know about the hidden clauses. Blue dot on David's screen. However, David continued smoothly, I'd like to review Section 47B once more. The subsidiary management structure. Omar's face twitched. That section contained some of his most carefully hidden traps. How does he know this? Omar hissed to his assistant. Red dot, blue dot, red dot. Amara's little fingers worked quickly, her drawing app becoming a sophisticated intelligence-gathering tool. Is there a problem with Section 47B? David asked innocently. No problem, Omar lied smoothly. Though perhaps we could discuss the timeline modifications. He launched into a complex explanation, switching between English and Arabic to confuse the Americans. But Amara caught every word. Her tablet showed David a simple drawing, a clock with 6 months written underneath crossed out with 30 days written beside it. Interesting, David mused. So, you're proposing to accelerate the timeline from 6 months to 30 days? That seems quite aggressive. Omar froze. He never mentioned timeline changes in English. How did he hear that? Omar's assistant asked in Arabic. I don't know, but we must be careful. Omar's eyes swept the room suspiciously. His gaze passed over Amara, who appeared completely absorbed in coloring a butterfly on her tablet, just a child playing games while adults conducted business. Mr. Omar, David said calmly, I think we need to discuss the real terms you're proposing, all of them, in detail. Omar's confident smile began to crack. Sullivan whispered to Foster, How is David doing this? Foster watched Amara's innocent face as the child continued her game, then whispered back, I think we owe someone an apology. David's private office. During the recess, David closed his office door and sat across from Amara in the small seating area. away from the imposing desk. For the first time all day, he wasn't a powerful lawyer, just a father figure talking to a remarkable child. "Can I tell you something, Amara?" His voice was gentle, vulnerable. "When I was your age, nobody listened to me either." Amara looked up from her tablet, surprised. "I grew up in a trailer park in Ohio. My dad fixed cars. My mom cleaned houses, just like your mama." David's eyes grew distant. "I was the first person in my family to go to college. You know what my high school guidance counselor told me?" "What?" "That kids like me don't become lawyers, that I should aim for something more realistic." David shook his head. "I was angry for years, but then I realized something. Being underestimated can be a superpower." "How?" "Because when people expect nothing from you, you can surprise them, like you did today." David leaned forward. "But Amara, I need you to know something important. What happened in that conference room? That wasn't just about business." "What do you mean?" "My daughter Emma is your age. She's smart, not as smart as you, but smart. And sometimes she comes home from school crying because kids make fun of her for reading too much, for knowing too many answers." His voice cracked slightly. "If someone dismissed Emma the way my partners dismissed you today, I'd be heartbroken." Amara fidgeted with her tablet stylus. "People think I'm weird because I like languages more than TikTok. You know what's weird? A world where a 1-2-year-old has to save adults from their own ignorance." David smiled sadly. "Amara, what you did today understanding those Arabic conversations, catching that fraud that wasn't luck, that was years of hard work, dedication, and natural brilliance. I just wanted to help people, like the refugee kids at the community center who can't talk to their teachers. And that's exactly why you're special. You didn't learn 8 languages to show off. You learned them to serve others." David's voice grew firm with conviction. "That's the difference between intelligence and wisdom. You have both." Kesha appeared in the doorway. "They're calling us back." David stood and offered Amara his hand. "Ready to change history, partner?" Amara took his hand, her small fingers wrapping around his. "Mr. Harrison, when this is over, can I meet Emma? Maybe teach her some Arabic?" "She'd love that. She could teach you about soccer. She's obsessed." For a moment, they were just two people who understood what it means to be underestimated, walking together toward justice. Conference room. Final confrontation. Omar returned with a briefcase full of new documents and a coldness in his eyes that wasn't there before. His assistant carried a digital recorder. They were being extra careful now. "Mr. Harrison," Omar's voice was silk over steel, "I've brought revised contracts. Final terms, non-negotiable." He spread thick legal documents across the mahogany table. The Arabic sections were even more complex than before. Dense, archaic text, mixed with modern Gulf dialect terminology. "These require immediate signature. Market conditions have shifted." David glanced at Amara, who sat innocently in her corner, tablet in hand. To Omar, she was invisible furniture. "Of course, but I'd like our linguistic consultant to review the Arabic sections first." "Your consultant?" Omar's eyebrows raised. "I wasn't aware you had Arabic expertise in-house." "Recent acquisition," David said smoothly. Omar's assistant whispered urgently, "Should we be concerned about this?" "No, their Arab lawyer isn't here today, and they can't understand the ancient language I used." Amara's finger traced a casual circle on her tablet. She was drawing flowers. Anyone watching would think, but David's phone showed a red dot. "These contracts," Omar continued in English, "reflect standard international joint venture terms, 60-day transition period, shared oversight, mutual profit distribution." His words sounded reasonable, professional, but in Arabic, he told his assistant, "The real text gives us complete control after only 30 days. And when they try to break the contract, they'll pay 200 million in penalties." Blue dot, red dot, blue dot on David's screen. Amara drew what appeared to be a house with numbers, 30 days and 200 million. "Interesting timeline," David mused, studying the English version. "I see 60 days mentioned here, but I'm curious about enforcement mechanisms." Omar froze. The English version clearly stated 60 days. How did he know about the 30 days? The assistant hissed. "Quiet." Maybe it was a guess. Red dot appeared on David's phone. "Mr. Omar, could you clarify the penalty structure? The Arabic seems quite comprehensive." Omar's confidence cracked. "What penalty structure?" "The 200 million in liquidated damages mentioned in Section 73C of the Arabic text. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Omar's face went pale. This is impossible. They can't read Arabic at this level. There must be a spy. Both dots, red and blue, flashed frantically on David's screen. Omar's eyes scanned the room like a predator seeking prey. They passed over the senior partners, the legal assistants, David himself, and landed on Amara. The little girl sat quietly, coloring what appeared to be a rainbow on her tablet, completely absorbed in her childish artwork. Omar stared at her for a long, suspicious moment. Then, he walked over to her chair. "Little girl." His voice was deceptively gentle. "What are you drawing?" "A rainbow," Amara answered without looking up, continuing to color. "What's your name, little girl?" he asked in Arabic. The question was a trap. If she understood, she'd react. Amara continued coloring, showing no sign she heard anything unusual. "Do you like rainbows?" he asked again in Arabic. Still no reaction. Omar relaxed slightly. Just a stupid child, after all. But then he noticed something. Amara's crayon paused for just a microsecond when he spoke Arabic. "You're sure she doesn't understand?" he asked his assistant. This time, Amara's hand definitely trembled. Omar's eyes narrowed. He knelt down beside her chair, his expensive suit bringing him to her eye level. "Little pest," he said in Arabic. "Do you understand us?" Amara looked up with big, innocent eyes. "Are you talking to me, mister? I don't speak Spanish." "Arabic, child. Arabic." "Oh, no. I only speak English and a little Spanish from school." But Omar saw something in her eyes, a flicker of intelligence, of understanding. "I want you to leave this room immediately," he commanded in Arabic. Amara blinked, looking confused. "Mama?" she called to Kesha. But Omar wasn't fooled. He'd spent decades reading people, detecting lies, recognizing threats. "Mr. Harrison," his voice turned deadly serious. "I want this child removed from the room now. Omar, she's just." "Now," Omar slammed his hand on the table. "I will not conduct business with unauthorized persons present. Especially not," he glanced at Amara with pure venom, "unwanted observers." David's jaw tightened. "She stays, then we have no deal." Omar began gathering his documents. The moment of truth. Millions of dollars hung in the balance. David's entire firm's future rested on his next decision. He looked at Amara, this brave little girl who had risked everything to expose the truth. "Amara," David said clearly, "would you please tell Mr. Omar in Arabic exactly what you heard him say about the $200 million penalty clause?" The room went dead silent. Omar's face turned white as paper, and Amara stood up, looked Omar directly in the eyes, and spoke in perfect, crystal-clear Arabic. "I heard you say that the real text gives you complete control after only 30 days, and that the Americans will pay $200 million in penalties when they try to break the contract." Omar staggered backward as if he'd been shot. The stupid little black child had just destroyed his entire criminal empire. Conference room. The dramatic reversal. The silence stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. Omar stared at Amara as if she had materialized from thin air. No longer invisible. No longer dismissible. No longer just a child. "This is impossible," the words escaped his lips like a death rattle. Amara stepped forward, her tablet clutched in her small hands, and addressed the room in clear, confident English. "Mr. Omar has been speaking Arabic this entire time because he believed none of you could understand him. He called me black trash, filthy pest, and worthless garbage. He called my mama a monkey," he said. "Americans are stupid and easy to fool." Her voice grew stronger with each word. "But worse than the insults, he's been planning to steal $500 million through fraudulent contract language. The Arabic text gives him complete ownership of the project after 30 days, not 60. If you try to stop him, you pay $200 million in penalties. And the housing development for low-income families? He plans to tear it down and build luxury resorts for rich people." Omar's assistant bolted for the door, but David's security team, quietly summoned during the recess, blocked his exit. "Furthermore," Amara continued, pulling up her tablet, "I recorded everything." She tapped the screen. Omar's voice filled the room, speaking in Arabic, with English subtitles scrolling across her tablet. "We'll take everything from this stupid company. The Americans know nothing about Islamic trade laws. We'll make him agree or we'll destroy him. The poor people in this area will find themselves homeless." Foster's hand flew to her mouth. Sullivan went pale. Carter stared at Amara like he was seeing an angel. "You recorded me?" Omar's voice was barely a whisper. "I recorded everything, mister." Omar. Including you laughing about how you've done this to other American companies before. Including you mentioning the backup lawyer you bribed in this firm. David stepped forward. Omar al-Rashid, I'm canceling this deal, effective immediately. Furthermore, I'm reporting attempted fraud to the FBI, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and international authorities. Wait! Omar raised his hands desperately. Please, let me explain. Explain to a federal judge. David cut him off. But Amara wasn't finished. She walked directly to Omar, this small 2-year-old girl facing down a man who tried to steal $500 million. Mr. Omar, her voice was calm, mature beyond her years. Do you remember what you called me when I was cleaning your wastebasket? Omar's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. You called me dirty black trash and told someone to remove me from your sight. You kicked my supplies across the floor. You grabbed my wrist so hard it left marks. She held up her small arm, showing the faint bruises from his rings. But you know what's funny? While you were busy thinking I was worthless, I was busy saving $500 million and protecting hundreds of families from losing their homes. The words hit Omar like physical blows, and now, Amara's voice carried the quiet authority of absolute justice. Everyone will know that a 2-year-old girl you called garbage was smart enough to stop your entire criminal operation. Omar collapsed into a chair, his empire crumbling around him. David placed his hand on Amara's shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Dr. Amara Williams, the youngest chief linguistic consultant in legal history, and the person who just saved our company from the largest fraud attempt we've ever faced. The room erupted in applause, slow at first, then thunderous. Foster stood. Amara, I don't know how to apologize for what I said earlier. You showed more intelligence and courage in one morning than I've shown in my entire career. Sullivan nodded vigorously. The board needs to hear about this immediately. We need to create a formal recognition program. Already done, David interrupted. He pulled out an official document. Effective immediately, Amara Williams is appointed Chief Youth Linguistic Consultant with full educational support, her own office, and compensation appropriate to the value she's provided this firm. Kesha stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Harrison, we can't. This is too much. Mrs. Williams, David turned to her with deep respect. Your daughter didn't just save our company. She exposed international fraud that could have hurt countless families. This isn't charity. It's payment for services that no amount of money could truly cover. Carter approached Amara hesitantly. Could I shake your hand? I've never met anyone quite like you. As Amara shook hands with the senior partner, the same man who called her a liar and a fantasist an hour ago, Omar made one last desperate attempt. Please, he begged David. I have a family, children of my own. If this goes public, I'll lose everything. Amara turned to him, and for a moment, her 2-year-old compassion showed through. Mr. Omar, I hope your children never have to hear adults call them worthless because of how they look or where they come from. I hope they never have to prove they're smart enough to exist in the same room as you. Her kindness was more devastating than any accusation, but you tried to steal money that would have built homes for kids like me. You tried to hurt my community, my friends, my neighbors. So no, I can't help you now. David's phone buzzed with notifications. News outlets were already picking up the story. 2-year-old genius exposes $500 million fraud. Cleaning lady's daughter saves major law firm. Child prodigy outsmarts international criminal. Amara, David knelt down to her level. There are going to be reporters, interviews, maybe even book deals. But I want you to know, you never have to be anyone's symbol or spokeswoman. You're a child first, a genius second. Can I still help the refugee kids with their translation? You can do whatever makes you happy. Foster cleared her throat awkwardly. Amara, would you? Would you be willing to teach some of us basic Arabic? I realize we have significant gaps in our international capabilities. Amara looked up at the woman who had called her the cleaning woman's brat just hours ago. Of course, Mrs. Foster. Learning new languages is fun. Even grown-ups can do it if they try really hard. The gentle innocence of the response, devoid of malice despite the earlier cruelty, brought tears to Foster's eyes. As FBI agents arrived to arrest Omar and his assistant, Amara sat in David's chair behind the massive mahogany desk, her small frame dwarfed by the executive furniture, but her presence commanding the entire room. The worthless trash Omar tried to sweep away had become the most powerful person in the building, and she was only 12 years old. 1 year later, Harrison and Associates. The brass nameplate on the office door read, Dr. Amara Williams, Chief Youth Linguistic Consultant. Inside, 3-year-old Amara sat at a child-sized desk next to a regular one, reviewing documents in 5 different languages, while her homework lay open nearby advanced calculus that would challenge most high school students. Her office walls displayed certificates of recognition from the FBI, the State Department, and 3 universities offering her early admission. But the spot of honor went to a framed photo. Amara teaching Arabic to a group of refugee children at the community center, all of them laughing at something she had written on the whiteboard. A soft knock interrupted her concentration. David entered with a young girl who looked remarkably like him. Amara, I'd like you to meet my daughter, Emma. Emma, blonde and shy, clutched a soccer ball and stared at Amara with a mixture of awe and nervousness. Dad says you speak, like, 100 languages, Emma whispered. Only 12 fluently, Amara grinned, closing her textbook. But I'm working on Mandarin. Want to hear something cool in Arabic? Really? Amara pointed to Emma's soccer ball. That means, I love soccer too. My friend Layla taught me all the soccer words when she moved here from Syria. Emma's face lit up. Could you? Could you teach me to say goal in different languages? For the next hour, the 2 girls sat cross-legged on Amara's office carpet, teaching each other. Emma demonstrated soccer kicks while Amara provided multilingual sports commentary that had them both giggling. David watched from the doorway, remembering how a year ago his colleagues had dismissed this brilliant child as worthless trash. Mr. Harrison, Kesha appeared beside him, wearing the professional attire of her new position as Director of Community Outreach. The scholarship committee is ready for you. In the main conference room, the same room where Omar once called Amara garbage, David addressed a diverse group of teenagers and their parents. The Amara Williams Foundation has approved full educational scholarships for 15 students this year, he announced. Each recipient was nominated by someone who saw potential that others missed. The recipients included a homeless honor student, a teenage single mother pursuing her GED, a young man whose learning disabilities masked his mathematical genius, and a deaf girl whose American Sign Language skills made her a natural for international relations. But before we celebrate, David continued, I want you to hear from someone special. Amara entered the room. No longer the invisible child with the cleaning supplies, she wore a simple dress and carried herself with a quiet confidence that commanded immediate respect. A year ago, a very powerful man looked at me and saw nothing but dirty black trash, she began. He thought I was too young, too poor, too different to matter. He was wrong. She paused, looking at each scholarship recipient. But here's what I learned. He wasn't wrong because I'm special. He was wrong because every person in this room is special. Every person has gifts that the world needs, even if the world doesn't know it yet. A teenage mother wiped tears from her eyes. The hardest part isn't proving you're smart enough or good enough. The hardest part is believing it yourself when everyone around you says you're not. Amara's voice grew stronger. I'm here to tell you, you are enough. You are worthy. You are brilliant. And someday, you'll get the chance to prove it. She turned to address the room at large. But this isn't just about the people receiving scholarships today. This is about all of us learning to see differently. Amara walked to the same spot where Omar once stood, where he once dismissed her as nothing. Look around your schools, your workplaces, your communities. Who are you not seeing? Whose voice are you not hearing? Whose potential are you missing because they don't look like what you expect genius to look like? The room was completely silent, hanging on every word from this 3-year-old who changed everything. The next time you see someone cleaning an office, ask yourself, what languages do they speak? The next time you pass a child sitting quietly in a corner, ask yourself, what are they thinking about? The next time someone seems different from you, ask yourself, what can they teach me? Amara paused at the head of the conference table. Because here's the truth that took me 13 years to learn. Talent doesn't wear expensive suits. Intelligence doesn't need a college degree. Wisdom doesn't require wrinkles. And worth has nothing to do with the size of your paycheck. She looked directly into the camera that was recording this moment for the Foundation's website. So, I'm asking you, yes, you watching this, what will you do differently tomorrow? Will you notice someone you've been overlooking? Will you listen to someone you've been dismissing? Will you see potential where others see problems? Amara smiled, the same quiet smile she had when Omar first underestimated her. Because somewhere out there is another kid like me, sitting quietly in a corner, understanding more than anyone realizes, and they're waiting for someone like you to see them. She paused one final time. Don't make them wait too long. The lesson. Never underestimate anyone. True worth, intelligence, and power can be found where you least expect them. It is our responsibility to look past our own biases to see the hidden potential in everyone around us. What did you think of Amara's story? Share your story of hidden potential in the comments below. Like this video if you believe talent exists everywhere, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. Remember, you never know who might be listening. Have you ever been called trash in a place where you owned everything? Get your ghetto ass out of my hotel before I call the cops. Kevin Moore snatched the black card from Maya Richardson's fingers and slammed it onto the marble floor. His polished Oxford ground down hard, twisting the $5,000 limit Centurion card under his heel like a cigarette butt. This is embarrassing for everyone, he sneered, loud enough for the lobby to hear. Whatever corner you got this fake card from, take it back. The front desk clerk, Jessica, giggled nervously. Should I get the mop? That card probably has diseases on it. Maya's canvas sneakers didn't move. Her faded jeans and white cotton shirt had apparently triggered every racist instinct these people possessed. 11:47 p.m. glowed on the lobby's digital clock. Tonight, they witnessed employees who had no idea they were destroying their own careers with each cruel word. Maya bent down slowly, picking up her trampled card. The black metal felt warm from Kevin's shoe print. She straightened, sliding it into her worn leather messenger bag without a word. I have a penthouse reservation, she said quietly, placing her phone on the marble counter. The confirmation email glowed on the screen. Sterling Grand Hotel, penthouse suite 45,501. Guest, Maya Richardson. Kevin barely glanced at it. Anyone can Photoshop this garbage. You think we're stupid? Behind him, Jessica typed frantically on her computer. I'm checking our system now. There is a Maya Richardson registered, but... She looked up at Maya, then back at Kevin. This can't be right. What can't be right? Maya asked. Well, the real Maya Richardson would be... Jessica gestured vaguely. Different. Important, you know. Kevin leaned over the counter, his voice dripping with condescension. Let me break this down for you, sweetheart. This is a 5-star establishment. We host Fortune 500 CEOs, A-list celebrities, foreign diplomats. Look around. He gestured at the crystal chandeliers, the imported Italian marble, the hand-carved mahogany reception desk. You see anyone else here dressed like they just rolled out of a Walmart parking lot? Maya checked her phone. 11:52 p.m. 8 minutes until her conference call with Saito Corporation in Tokyo. 8 minutes to close a $200 million manufacturing deal that had taken 6 months to negotiate. The lobby's atmosphere shifted as other guests became aware of the confrontation. An elderly white couple in designer evening wear whispered behind jeweled hands. A business executive in a $1,000 suit paused his phone conversation to watch the spectacle. A young woman in the seating area, Chloe Park, discreetly started filming with her phone. She opened Instagram Live, whispering urgently, "Y'all, I'm witnessing some serious discrimination at this fancy Chicago hotel right now. This is insane." The viewer count climbed. 47, 89, 156. Kevin turned back to Maya, his confidence growing with each passing second. I've been working in luxury hospitality for 8 years. I can spot a scammer from across the lobby. The way you walk, the way you talk, that cheap bag you're carrying, it's all wrong. He pointed at her canvas sneakers. You know what those shoes tell me? They tell me you take the bus. They tell me you shop at thrift stores. They tell me you've never seen the inside of a place like this, except maybe cleaning it. Jessica giggled behind her hand. Kevin, you're terrible, but also not wrong. Maya opened her messenger bag slightly, revealing the corner of her first-class United boarding pass. Chicago to Tokyo, departing at 6 a.m., the flight that would seal the Saito deal. Next to it, the edge of her real black American Express Centurion card, the one Kevin had just destroyed. I understand you're busy, Maya said, her voice steady. But I really do need to check in. Kevin's laugh was sharp and cruel. Busy, lady? I've got time. I've got all the time in the world to explain reality to you. He leaned closer, his breath smelling of coffee and arrogance. This isn't some community center where you can just walk in and demand things. This is private property, my property to protect. Emily Chen, the assistant manager, emerged from the back office carrying a stack of reports. Kevin immediately grabbed her arm, his voice loud enough to carry across the marble lobby. We've got a situation here. Someone's trying to scam their way into the penthouse with fake documents and a sob story. Emily's eyes swept over Maya from head to toe. The judgment was instant and complete. Her lip curled slightly as she took in the faded jeans, the simple white shirt, the worn messenger bag. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some real identification, and I mean government-issued photo ID that proves you can afford a $2,800 per night suite. The Instagram Live viewer count hit 312. Comments started flooding in. This is 2025 and we are still dealing with this? Someone needs to check this hotel as soon as possible. At Sterling Hotels, your staff is racist. Call the manager now. This woman deserves better. Maya pulled out her driver's license. Emily examined it like she was a forensics expert, holding it up to the light, checking the hologram, even smelling it. This could be fake too, Emily announced loudly. Identity theft is a serious crime. Kevin, should we call the police now or wait for security? Kevin nodded sagely. Good thinking. We can't be too careful these days. Some people will try anything for a free night in luxury. He pulled out his phone and started dialing. Chicago PD? Yes, this is Kevin Moore, night manager at the Sterling Grand Hotel. We have a suspected fraud situation. The digital clock read 11:54 p.m., 6 minutes remaining. Maya watched Kevin's performance, his theatrical concern for hotel security. She noticed how he kept glancing at the other guests, making sure his authority was on full display. This wasn't just discrimination. This was entertainment for him. Jessica leaned over to Emily. Should I cancel the penthouse reservation? Open it up for someone who actually belongs here? Absolutely, Emily replied. No point holding a room for someone who clearly can't afford it. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from her assistant. Saito Corporation calling in 6 minutes. Conference room reserved. Are you ready? She looked up at Kevin and Emily, both standing with their arms crossed like sentries guarding a castle. Behind them, Jessica was already typing, presumably canceling her reservation. In the seating area, Chloe's live stream had exploded to over 800 viewers. The comments were a mix of outrage and support, but the damage was spreading beyond this lobby. I'm ready, Maya whispered to herself, checking the time once more. 11:55 p.m. Kevin snapped his fingers toward the lobby's corner. David, we need you up here. Security Chief David Johnson emerged from behind a marble pillar, his 6-foot frame cutting an imposing figure in the Navy uniform. At 35, David had seen enough hotel drama to fill a book. But something about this situation felt different. Wrong. What's the problem, Kevin? David asked, his eyes scanning Maya's face. There was something familiar about her, but he couldn't place it. We've got someone trying to scam their way into the penthouse, Kevin explained, his voice carrying across the lobby like a town crier. Fake documents, fake cards, the whole 9 yards. She's been here 20 minutes, refusing to leave. Kevin gestured dramatically at Maya. Look at her, David. Does she look like penthouse material to you? I mean, seriously, look. David looked down at Maya. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me. Officer Johnson, Maya said quietly, reading his name tag. Before you do anything, I strongly suggest you check your employee handbook. Section 14.3, specifically. David paused, confused. What are you talking about? Just check it, please. Kevin rolled his eyes. She's trying to confuse you with legal mumbo-jumbo. Classic scammer tactic. They watch YouTube videos about tenant rights and think they know the law. Chloe's live stream had exploded to 1,847 viewers. She held her phone steady, whispering urgently to her audience, "This is getting crazy, y'all." They called security on this woman for literally nothing. The racism is so blatant I can't even. The comments were multiplying faster than she could read them. Record everything. This hotel is about to get dragged. Someone call the news stations. Number Sterling Hotel racism needs to trend. Where are the civil rights lawyers when you need them? I'm never staying at Sterling Hotels again. This is disgusting in 2025. Emily grabbed Maya's phone from the counter. Let me take a closer look at this so-called reservation. She scrolled through the email, her frown deepening. This is sophisticated. Whoever made this fake really knew what they were doing. Look at these details, Emily continued, holding up the phone. Professional email format, correct hotel letterhead, even the right confirmation number structure. But we know it's fake because, she gestured at Maya again, because look at her. It's not fake, Maya said simply. Sure, it's not, Emily snorted. And I'm Oprah Winfrey. Kevin, Should we call the police now? This is clearly criminal fraud. Kevin was enjoying himself now, playing to his audience of hotel guests and live stream viewers. You know what I love about my job? Protecting honest, paying customers from people who think they can just walk in here and take what they want. He gestured toward the elderly couple in evening wear. Mr. and Mrs. Clark have been staying with us for 15 years. They pay $3,000 a night and never cause problems. They dress appropriately. They respect our establishment. Mrs. Clark shifted uncomfortably in her seat, but her husband nodded approvingly. Kevin continued his performance, his voice growing louder and more theatrical. But then you get people who think they can waltz in here with their fake documents and their attitude, demanding penthouse suites like they own the place, like they deserve something they clearly can't afford. He pointed at Maya's messenger bag. You see that bag? I've seen better luggage at a gas station. And those shoes? Those are work shoes, manual labor shoes, not penthouse shoes. Jessica giggled from behind the counter. Kevin, you're so bad. But you're not wrong, though. Maybe she does own the place, called out a voice from across the lobby. Everyone turned. A young black man in a business suit was walking toward them, having just entered through the revolving doors. His briefcase bore the logo of a major consulting firm. Kevin's face darkened. Excuse me, sir, but this is a private matter. A private matter? The man laughed, looking around at the crowd of onlookers and phones recording. Half of Chicago is watching this on Instagram Live right now. This is about as private as Times Square on New Year's Eve. David stepped between them. Sir, I'm going to need you to what? Stand here in the lobby of a public hotel? I'm a guest here too, officer. Room 2847. Been staying here for 3 days on business. He pulled out his key card, flashing it at David. And in 3 days, this is the most disgusting display of racism I've witnessed in this establishment. Kevin's confidence wavered slightly. He hadn't expected backup from Maya. Sir, you don't understand the situation. This woman is trying to commit fraud. What I understand, the businessman replied, is that you've been harassing a black woman for 30 minutes without any real evidence of wrongdoing. What I understand is that your assumptions are based purely on her appearance. More hotel guests were gathering now. A family with teenagers looked uncomfortable but curious. A couple in their 40 whispered urgently to each other while filming with their phones. Maya checked her phone. 11:57 p.m. 3 minutes until Tokyo called. Emily was still examining Maya's phone when her own device buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. Kevin, she whispered, we might have a problem. What kind of problem? I just got a text from corporate. They're asking about some kind of situation involving discrimination complaints. Kevin waved dismissively. Probably routine. Don't worry about it. But Emily's hands were shaking as she continued reading. No, Kevin. This says they've been monitoring social media mentions of our hotel. They want a full report about any incidents involving racial discrimination. She looked up at Maya, then back at her phone. They're asking specifically about tonight. About the Chicago location. About the night shift. Kevin's face began to redden. That's impossible. How would they even know? Because it's trending on social media, the businessman called out. Because thousands of people are watching this happen in real time. Chloe's live stream had reached 4,200 viewers. The hashtag number Sterling Hotel Racism was starting to gain traction on Twitter. Local Chicago influencers were sharing the stream, adding their own commentary about discrimination in luxury establishments. David was reading something on his phone, too. His expression grew increasingly troubled. Kevin, he said slowly, I think we need to step back and reassess this situation. Are you kidding me? Kevin snapped. Since when do we let potential criminals dictate hotel policy? Since the live stream of this interaction has gone viral, David replied. Since corporate is apparently watching. Since this woman mentioned employee handbook sections that I'm now looking up. He held up his phone, showing Kevin a screenshot. Section 14.3 is about immediate termination for discriminatory behavior. Why would she know that? Kevin's jaw tightened. I don't care if the president himself is watching. This is my shift, my lobby, my decision. I've been managing this hotel for 3 years without a single complaint. Actually, Jessica said quietly, looking at her computer screen. That's not exactly true. There have been 17 formal complaints filed against our location in the past 6 months. Kevin spun around. What? Why wasn't I told? Because they were mostly about you, Jessica admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The lobby fell silent except for the soft ping of Chloe's live stream notifications. Maya looked around the lobby. The elderly couple was whispering nervously. The business guest was filming with his own phone now. The family with teenagers was openly staring. Chloe was practically bouncing in her seat as her viewer count climbed toward 5,000. The digital clock read 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes until her call with Tokyo. 2 minutes until a $200 million deal that could reshape international manufacturing partnerships. 2 minutes until Kevin Moore learned exactly who he'd been talking to. Maya reached into her messenger bag and pulled out a leather portfolio. "Officer Johnson," she said quietly, "that employee handbook section. You might want to read it out loud." David pulled out his phone, scrolling to the employee handbook app. His voice carried across the silent lobby as he read aloud. Section 14.3. Any employee engaging in discriminatory behavior based on race, gender, religion, or perceived economic status faces immediate termination without severance pay, plus personal legal liability for damages to company reputation. Kevin's face went ashen. "Why are you reading that?" Maya opened her leather portfolio slowly, like a magician preparing her final trick. She placed a single sheet of paper on the marble counter. The Sterling Hotel Group letterhead gleamed under the crystal chandeliers. Kevin squinted at the document. What is this?" "Your quarterly performance report," Maya said softly. "Revenue fell 23% this quarter. Guest satisfaction rating, 2.3 out of 5 stars. Staff turnover rate, 89% annually." She pointed to a specific line on the report. "Average nightly occupancy, 67%. Industry standard for luxury hotels, 85%. Your department is failing every measurable metric." Emily leaned over Kevin's shoulder, her face draining of color as she read. "How do you have this? These are confidential corporate documents." Maya reached into her portfolio again, retrieving her business card. She placed it next to the report. The black lettering was simple, elegant. Maya Richardson, Chief Executive Officer, Richardson Ventures. Kevin stared at the card like it was written in hieroglyphics. "I don't understand." "Let me help you understand," Maya said, pulling out her iPad. She swiped to a specific screen and turned it around so everyone could see the Sterling Hotel Group corporate website's leadership page. Her professional headshot smiled back at them from the screen. Same face, same woman, but wearing a tailored business suit instead of jeans and canvas sneakers. Maya Richardson, majority shareholder. Richardson Ventures acquired Sterling Hotel Group for $847 million, the 15th of March, 2025. Miss Richardson now controls a 67% ownership stake in the luxury hotel chain. The silence in the lobby was deafening. You could hear the soft hum of the air conditioning, the distant tick of the antique grandfather clock, the barely audible pings from Chloe's live stream. Then the lobby erupted. Chloe's live stream chat exploded. "Yo, she owns the hotel. No way. No way. No way. Kevin is so fired. I am screaming. Plot twist of the century. This is better than Netflix. Somebody call an ambulance for Kevin." Kevin's legs buckled. He grabbed the marble counter to steady himself, his knuckles white against the dark stone. That's impossible. You can't be—" "I can't be what, Kevin?" Maya asked, her voice still calm as glass. "I can't be successful? I can't own a billion-dollar company? I can't afford a penthouse suite in my own hotel?" She gestured at her simple outfit. "Or do you mean I can't look like this and still be your boss's boss?" David stepped back, his hand moving instinctively to his security radio, not to call for backup, but because his training was screaming at him that he'd just witnessed a career-ending disaster. Emily's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Ma'am, if we had known, there was no way to identify. You weren't wearing—" "I wasn't wearing what?" Maya interrupted gently. "A sign that said, billionaire? A tiara? What exactly should successful black women wear to be treated with basic human dignity in their own establishments?" The businessman from room 2847 started slow clapping. "Best hotel drama I've ever witnessed, and I travel 200 days a year for consulting work." Other guests began pulling out their phones, realizing they were witnessing something extraordinary. The elderly couple looked mortified. The family with teenagers was recording everything. Jessica was frantically typing on her computer, pulling up Maya's actual reservation. "Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, it's real. The penthouse reservation is real, and it's been paid for 6 months in advance." She looked up at Maya with tears in her eyes. The payment came from Richardson Ventures' corporate account. $16,800 for 6 nights. I should have checked more carefully. Kevin's voice cracked like a teenager going through puberty. Ma'am, if you had just told us who you were— I did tell you who I was, Maya replied, her tone never rising above a conversational level. I told you I was Maya Richardson with a confirmed reservation. You decided that wasn't enough based on my appearance. She pulled out another document from her portfolio. This is the acquisition agreement, March 15th, 2025. Richardson Ventures purchased Sterling Hotel Group for $847 million cash. We now own 847 properties in 23 countries. Maya pointed to Kevin's name tag. Kevin Moore, employee ID 4,471. You work for me. She turned to Emily. Emily Chen, employee ID 4,203. You work for me. She looked at Jessica. Jessica Mitchell, employee ID 4,892. You work for me. Kevin tried to straighten up, attempting to salvage some dignity. Ma'am, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. If you could just— Maya held up her hand. The only misunderstanding, Kevin, was yours. You assumed a black woman in casual clothes couldn't possibly belong in your hotel. You made that assumption in front of witnesses, on camera, and with spectacular confidence. She checked her phone. 11:59 p.m. Before I take my conference call with Tokyo in 60 seconds, let me share why I'm really here tonight. Maya pulled out a printed email chain from her portfolio. The subject line was visible to everyone. Discrimination complaints, Sterling Grand Chicago, urgent review, required. 47 formal complaints in 3 months, Maya announced. 47 guests who felt unwelcome, judged, or discriminated against at this location. Complaints about staff, assumptions, service disparities, and outright hostility. She flipped through the pages. Guest reports include: staff treated me like I didn't belong, assumed I couldn't afford my room, made comments about my appearance, and my personal favorite, manager asked if I was sure I was in the right hotel. She looked directly at Kevin. So, I came to investigate personally. Thank you for the demonstration. Chloe's live stream had reached 12,000 viewers. The story was being picked up by local news Twitter accounts. Sterling Hotel racism was trending in Chicago. Kevin tried one last desperate move. Ma'am, there's been a misunderstanding. If you could just forgive this one incident. Maya's phone rang. The caller ID showed Saito Corporation, Tokyo. She answered without breaking eye contact with Kevin. Yamamoto-san. Yes, I'm ready for our call. I'm conducting the audit I mentioned earlier. I'll have full findings for our board meeting tomorrow. She paused, listening. Yes, the discrimination issues are worse than we thought. But I have a comprehensive solution that I'll be implementing immediately. Kevin's face had gone from red to white to a sickly green. Emily was quietly crying behind the counter. David stood frozen, his hand still hovering near his radio. Maya ended her call and looked around the lobby. The crowd of guests had grown to nearly 20 people, all filming or live streaming the aftermath. Now, Maya said, opening her laptop, let's discuss your future employment status. Maya opened her laptop and connected it to the lobby's wall-mounted display screen. The Sterling Hotel Group logo appeared, followed by a presentation titled Operational Audit, Chicago Location, October 17th, 2025. Let me share some numbers with you, Maya said, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who'd built companies from scratch. The tone wasn't aggressive or vindictive. It was the calm professionalism of a CEO delivering quarterly results to shareholders. Kevin stared at the screen in growing horror as Maya began her presentation. This wasn't just embarrassment anymore. This was his entire career unraveling in real time, broadcast to thousands of strangers on the internet. The first slide appeared with stark white text on a black background. Sterling Grand Chicago's monthly revenue had dropped from $1.8 million to $1.2 million over the past year. Guest satisfaction scores had plummeted to 3 out of 5 stars, while the industry standard for luxury hotels remained 4.2. Staff turnover had reached 89% annually. These numbers tell a story. Maya continued, advancing to the next slide. They tell the story of a hotel where guests don't feel welcome, where employees don't want to work, and where management has lost control of basic service standards. Emily gripped the marble counter, her knuckles white. She'd seen some of these metrics before in corporate emails, but seeing them displayed publicly like this made the failure impossible to ignore. Kevin Moore, Maya said, turning to face him directly. Night manager, employee ID 4,471. Annual salary, $54,000. In the past 6 months, 23 formal complaints have been filed specifically about interactions with you. Kevin's face went ashen. That's not possible, I would have been told. You were told, Maya interrupted, clicking to another slide. 17 written warnings were issued to your personnel file. Your supervisor attempted corrective coaching sessions 4 times. Your last performance review rated you 1.8 out of 5 stars. She paused, letting the numbers sink in. Your department's guest satisfaction scores are the lowest in our entire North American portfolio. Guests specifically mentioned feeling unwelcome, judged, and discriminated against during night shift interactions. Chloe's live stream had exploded to over 15,000 viewers. Comments were flowing so fast the text appeared as a blur. She's destroying them with facts. This is better than court TV. Kevin about to update his resume. Receipts queen! I can't stop watching. Maya turned to Emily. Emily Chen, assistant manager. Employee ID 4,203. Annual salary $61,000. 19 guest complaints in 6 months. 7 failed mystery shopper evaluations out of 8 attempts. Emily's breathing became shallow. She'd known about some complaints, but 19? She'd assumed most guest dissatisfaction was due to unrealistic expectations or isolated incidents. Your diversity training has been overdue by 8 months, Maya continued. Your customer service certification expired last year and hasn't been renewed. 4 disciplinary actions are documented in your file for inappropriate guest treatment. She clicked to the next slide. The pattern here isn't isolated incidents or personality conflicts. This is systematic discrimination that has created a hostile environment for guests and employees alike. Maya walked closer to the counter, her voice remaining calm but carrying unmistakable authority. When I acquired Sterling Hotel Group 6 months ago, this Chicago location was flagged as our highest-risk property for discrimination lawsuits. Our legal department estimated potential damages at $2.3 million from pending cases. Kevin tried to interrupt. Ma'am, surely those numbers are inflated. 3 federal cases are moving forward, Maya continued without acknowledging his interruption. Our attorneys estimate settlement costs could reach $5.7 million if we lose. That's assuming no additional cases are filed. She gestured toward Chloe's phone, still live streaming to thousands. After tonight's performance, broadcast to over 15,000 witnesses, our legal exposure has increased exponentially. The businessman from room 2847 shook his head in amazement. In 20 years of corporate consulting, I've never seen a more thorough public audit. This is like watching a masterclass in crisis management. Maya advanced to another slide showing the corporate hierarchy. Kevin Moore reports to Regional Manager Janet Davis, who reports to Vice President Michael Carter, who reports to Executive Vice President Sarah Kim, who reports directly to me. She let that information settle before continuing. When you disrespected me tonight, you weren't just insulting a guest. You were publicly humiliating the owner of your company in front of thousands of witnesses. Every person watching this live stream now associates Sterling Hotels with racism and discrimination. Kevin's hands were trembling. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the lobby's perfect climate control. Ma'am, please, I have a family. I have a mortgage. I didn't know who you were. You didn't know I was the owner, Maya agreed. But you did know I was a human being who deserved basic respect. You made conscious choices about how to treat me based solely on my appearance and your own biases. She clicked to display the employee handbook section they discussed earlier. Section 14.3 is very clear about discriminatory behavior. Immediate termination without severance, plus personal legal liability for reputational damages. Maya closed her laptop and walked to the center of the lobby, positioning herself where everyone could see her clearly. The crystal chandeliers cast dramatic shadows, and for a moment, she looked less like a tired traveler and more like the Fortune 500 CEO she actually was. Kevin Moore, Emily Chen, you have 3 choices, and I need your decisions immediately. She held up one finger. Choice 1. Immediate resignation. You leave quietly tonight. I provide neutral employment references that don't mention this incident. You keep whatever professional reputation you have left. 2 fingers. Choice 2. Termination for cause. This incident goes on your permanent employment record. No references from Sterling Hotels. possible civil litigation for the brand damage you've caused. Future employers will see a discrimination-related termination when they call for references. 3 fingers. Choice. 3. Corporate investigation. A full human resources review that takes 3 to 6 months. Media attention, legal depositions. Your names are permanently attached to this incident in public records and news articles. The lobby fell completely silent. Even Chloe's live stream chat seemed to pause as viewers waited for the response. You have 60 seconds to decide, Maya announced, checking her phone. I have 3 more Sterling properties to visit tonight for similar audits, and I don't have time for extended deliberations. Kevin's voice cracked when he finally spoke. Ma'am, surely there's some middle ground, some way to handle this privately. I've been with the company for 3 years. I've worked holidays, overtime, covered for other managers. Maya pulled out a thick folder from her portfolio. Kevin, this contains documentation of every complaint filed against you. Most guests didn't pursue their concerns because they didn't want the hassle of fighting a large corporation. They just took their business elsewhere and warned their friends about Sterling hotels. She opened the folder, revealing dozens of printed emails and complaint forms. Guest reports include comments like, staff treated me like I didn't belong. Manager assumed I couldn't afford my room, made inappropriate comments about my appearance, and asked if I was sure I was in the right hotel. Emily stepped forward, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Miss Richardson, I'm so sorry. I was following Kevin's lead. I thought I was supporting my supervisor. I never meant for this to escalate. Emily, you're both adults who made conscious decisions, Maya replied firmly. You chose to treat me with contempt and disrespect. The fact that I happen to own this company is irrelevant. You would have treated any black woman in casual clothes exactly the same way. Jessica's voice came from behind the counter, small and frightened. What about me, ma'am? Am I being fired too? Maya turned to study the young woman. Jessica, you're 24 years old. You followed orders from your supervisors, but you also participated in humiliating a guest. You laughed when Kevin made cruel comments. You suggested my credit card had diseases. Jessica's face crumpled. I was just trying to fit in. I didn't want Kevin to think I wasn't loyal to the team. The question, Maya continued, is whether you want to learn from this experience or repeat these mistakes throughout your career. Do you want to be the kind of person who treats others with dignity regardless of their appearance? Or do you want to be someone who judges people based on stereotypes? David stepped forward, his security uniform crisp despite the late hour. Ma'am, what about my role in this? I was called to escort you from the premises. Maya nodded approvingly. David, you questioned the situation immediately. You suggested checking employee policies. You showed reluctance to act purely on assumptions and appearances. You demonstrated the critical thinking that your colleagues lacked. She paused, looking around the lobby at the crowd of guests still filming and watching. David, you have a choice too. You can help me rebuild this hotel's culture, or you can find employment elsewhere. But your choice involves becoming part of the solution. The digital clock read 12:03 a.m. Time is up, Maya announced with the finality of a judge delivering a verdict. Kevin Moore, what is your decision? Kevin's voice came out as barely a whisper. I choose to resign. His hands shook as he pulled his name badge from his jacket and placed it on the marble counter. The small piece of plastic and metal seemed to echo in the silent lobby. Maya nodded once. Emily Chen, your decision? Resignation, Emily choked out, her mascara-streaked face crumpling as she removed her own badge. I'm so sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry. Your apologies are noted, Maya replied without emotion. Jessica Mitchell, what's your choice? Jessica wiped her nose with the back of her hand. I want to learn, ma'am. I want to do better. I don't want to be the kind of person I was tonight. Maya studied the young woman carefully. Learning requires acknowledging what you did wrong. Can you do that? I participated in humiliating you, Jessica said, her voice gaining strength. I made assumptions about you based on your clothes and your race. I laughed when I should have spoken up. I was cruel because I thought it would make me fit in with my coworkers. That's honest, Maya acknowledged. David Johnson, what's your decision? David straightened to his full height. I want to help you fix this place, ma'am. What happened tonight should never happen to anyone, anywhere, ever again. Maya smiled for the first time since entering the hotel. It transformed her entire face, revealing the warmth that had been hidden beneath layers of exhaustion and professional composure. Then let's get to work, she said, opening her laptop again. Kevin and Emily gathered their personal belongings from behind the counter, moving like sleepwalkers through a nightmare. Other staff members would discover their terminations through corporate emails in the morning, but for now, they simply faded into the Chicago night. Maya projected a new presentation titled Immediate Reform Implementation, Sterling Grand Chicago. Jessica, David, you're about to participate in the most comprehensive hospitality reform program in our company's history. What you learn here will be rolled out to all 847 Sterling properties worldwide. Chloe's live stream had reached 22,000 viewers. Local news stations were calling the hotel, requesting interviews. The hashtag number Sterling Hotel Reform was trending alongside the original number Sterling Hotel Racism. First, Maya announced, staffing changes, effective immediately. She pulled out her phone and dialed. Janet Davis, this is Maya Richardson. Yes, I know it's after midnight. I'm at the Chicago location, and we have a situation that requires immediate intervention. Maya put the call on speaker so everyone could hear. Janet, I need you to temporarily reassign Keisha Williams from our Boston location to manage Chicago, starting tomorrow morning. Full authority to implement new protocols. Keisha Williams? The voice on the phone responded. She's one of our best managers, but the Boston property needs her. Boston will survive, Maya interrupted. Chicago is in crisis mode. I also need you to contact our diversity and inclusion consultant, Dr. Amanda Foster. Schedule emergency training sessions for all Chicago staff within 48 hours. Maya hung up and turned back to Jessica and David. Keisha Williams is a 15-year hospitality veteran who happens to be African American. She specializes in turning around underperforming properties through cultural transformation. Jessica raised her hand tentatively. Ma'am, will I be working under her? If you prove yourself worthy of staying, Maya replied. Your employment is probationary for the next 90 days. You'll undergo intensive retraining in cultural sensitivity, unconscious bias recognition, and luxury hospitality standards. Maya advanced to the next slide. Technology solutions. We're implementing what I'm calling the Guest Dignity Initiative, she explained. Every guest interaction will be monitored through a new mobile application that tracks satisfaction in real time. She showed them a prototype on her phone. Guests can report discrimination instantly through QR codes posted throughout the hotel. Reports go directly to corporate leadership, bypassing local management entirely. David leaned forward with interest. That's brilliant. No way for local staff to hide problems or retaliate against complainants. Exactly, Maya confirmed. We're also installing new security cameras with audio recording in all public spaces, not to spy on employees, but to protect both guests and staff from false accusations. She clicked another slide. Staff accountability measures. Every employee will complete monthly unconscious bias training. Guest satisfaction scores will be tied directly to performance reviews and salary increases. Discrimination complaints will trigger an immediate investigation by external consultants. Maya paused her presentation and looked directly at the guests who were still watching from the lobby seating area. To everyone who witnessed tonight's events, I want you to know that this is not representative of Sterling Hotel Group's values or standards. The businessman from room 2847 stood up. Ma'am, I've stayed at Sterling Properties for years. This is the first time I've seen anything like this, but I'm impressed by your immediate response. An elderly woman in a silk evening dress spoke up. I feel terrible that we just sat here and watched. We should have said something. Maya nodded thoughtfully. Part of our new Guest Dignity Initiative includes bystander intervention training for staff and guests. We'll provide resources for people who witness discrimination, helping them understand how to safely intervene or report incidents. She returned to her presentation. Community accountability. Sterling Grand Chicago will partner with local civil rights organizations to establish an external oversight board. Community leaders will conduct quarterly reviews of our practices and policies. Maya pulled out a business card and handed it to Chloe, who was still live streaming. This is Dr. Patricia Henderson from the Chicago Urban League. She'll be our community liaison, ensuring that our reforms have real accountability beyond corporate promises. Chloe looked at the card and then back at Maya. Can I ask you something on camera? Of course. How do you not hate them? How do you stay so calm after being treated like that? Maya considered the question carefully. Hatred is exhausting. Revenge is temporary, but systematic change, that's permanent. I'd rather spend my energy ensuring no one else experiences what I experienced tonight. She gestured toward Jessica and David. These two chose to learn and grow. Kevin and Emily chose to leave. Both responses tell me our reforms are necessary and possible. Maya checked her phone. It was now 12:15 a.m. Jessica, Your shift officially ended 15 minutes ago, but I'd like you to stay for another hour to begin your retraining process. Yes, ma'am, Jessica replied immediately. David, I need you to escort Kevin and Emily from the premises and ensure they return their key cards and access badges. Then, we'll discuss your new role in guest relations. David nodded. Understood. Maya addressed the remaining lobby guests. The penthouse suite is finally available for check-in, but frankly, after tonight's events, I think I'll sleep better knowing that real change is already beginning. She closed her laptop and looked around the transformed lobby. The same crystal chandeliers hung overhead. The same marble floors reflected the light, but everything felt different now. Jessica, Maya said, tell me about the guest dignity initiative we just outlined. What does it mean to you? Jessica straightened her shoulders. It means that every guest who walks through these doors deserves respect, regardless of what they look like or how much money we think they have. It means that our job is to make people feel welcome, not to judge them. And if you see another employee treating a guest poorly, I will report it immediately. I won't laugh along or stay silent. I have a responsibility to protect our guests and our hotel's reputation. Maya smiled again. That's exactly right. David, what's your understanding of your new role? I'm not just security anymore, David replied. I'm guest advocacy. My job is to ensure that everyone feels safe and respected in this hotel and to intervene when they don't. Maya nodded approvingly. Excellent. Both of you just demonstrated more leadership than Kevin and Emily showed in their combined years of employment. Chloe lowered her phone for the first time in over an hour. Miss Richardson, can I just say that watching you handle this situation has been incredible. You could have destroyed those people, but instead, you gave them choices. You could have screamed and threatened lawsuits, but instead, you implemented solutions. Jennifer, what's your last name? Maya asked. Park. Chloe Park. Chloe Park. Would you be interested in a job in our corporate communications department? We need people who understand the power of social media and authentic storytelling. Chloe's mouth fell open. Are you serious? I'm always serious about talent acquisition, Maya replied. Email me your resume tomorrow. The lobby had transformed from a site of discrimination into a classroom for change. The same physical space now hummed with possibility instead of hostility. Maya finally headed toward the elevators, her worn messenger bag slung over her shoulder. Jessica, David, I'll see you both tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for your first reform training session. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we begin rebuilding this hotel's soul. As the elevator doors closed, Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The penthouse suite was waiting, but more importantly, real change was beginning. 3 months later, Sterling Grand Chicago displayed a 4.6-star rating. Jessica Mitchell wore a supervisor's uniform, greeting guests with genuine warmth. David Johnson had become the guest relations manager. Revenue increased by 34%. Maya stood where Kevin had crushed her credit card. A small plaque now read, "In recognition of the dignity owed to every guest." The Guest Dignity Initiative had spread to all Sterling properties worldwide. 0 discrimination complaints. The reforms became a Harvard Business School case study. Maya pulled out her phone, recording a final message. Discrimination still happens daily in hotels, restaurants, and stores across America. But change is possible when people choose accountability over defensiveness. She looked directly into the camera. Share your discrimination experiences in the comments. Tag businesses that need reform. Subscribe to Blacktail Stories for more transformation victories. Remember, your voice matters. Your story matters. Your dignity is non-negotiable. The Sterling transformation proved systematic change was possible, one courageous choice at a time. The valuable lesson from this story is that true power isn't about loud confrontations, but about quiet competence and strategic action. Prejudice often crumbles in the face of facts, and the most profound way to enact change is not just to correct a single injustice, but to rebuild the system that allowed it to happen. What did you think of Maya's approach? Share your thoughts and any similar experiences you've had in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories.